Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Secret Lair podcast. I'm Daniel Guajardo. Joining me today is my co-host Steve Walsh, and we're going to do a full set review of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Steve, how's it going?
It's going. I'm ready to talk about some awesome Kamigawa set. This set looks ultra strong. Not in like a power level sense, but like it just looks like a fun set to play with. They experimented with a lot of stuff. They were not shy about putting words on magic cards. This is actually, in fact, I saw a stat earlier on Twitter today or yesterday where this is the wordiest set in all of Magic.
Really?
Yes.
That's actually a pretty cool stat.
It's a pretty cool stat. Some of these cards there's just a lot of words on them, so it's difficult to grok at first. But like with most sets, you just get used to it really quickly. So
yeah. So we don't want to repeat what other people are doing. So we're not going to do the 4-hour long talk about every single card set review. We're not going to do a limited set review like LR does. And we're not going to break it down to color videos and go through every single card. We're just going to scroll through the cards, talk about the ones that we think stick out, and maybe just, go over some ones that look like they could be powerful, but we're not sure. It's our first time doing a set review. So that pretty much cover it, Steve.
yeah, we're basically just gonna try this format, and we'll experiment a little bit every time a new set comes out, and see where we get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pronunciation might be a little difficult on this set, at least for me, but should be fun.
Oh yeah. Disclaimer right up front: I'm definitely gonna butcher some of the names of these cards, but
like ow.
You mean Ayo?
Ayo.
Ayo. Yeah. So I guess let's dive right in then, unless you have any other caveats. So basically, Kamigawa, big main set. We're returning to the plane of Kamigawa, which is the last time we were there, it was back before Magic began. Kamigawa predated Dominaria as far as timelines and stuff go. It was just an ancient block, and we've gone back to new Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty, where basically we are way in the future in a cyberpunk / Japanese themed set. Starting
Tokyo
off
Drift.
the bat. Yeah, sure. Tokyo Drift. Starting off the bat, we'll just start with like AO. It's one of 5 dragons in a dragon cycle, but we're gonna go in color order, so we'll just kind of work through it. AO the Dawn Sky is a 3 white for a 5/4 flying vigilance. When this dies, choose one. Look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, or in a random order, sorry, and then put 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or a vehicle. So I like half of the abilities on this card. I like the first one where you look at the top 7 of your library and put a number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. This is kind of like a decent top end for an aggressive deck. So if your opponent wraths you, you get the payoff, which is why the 2 abilities, in my opinion, kind of conflict with each other, because basically that's kind of the only way you're getting us off the battlefield with white, unless you're splashing maybe another color as a sacrifice outlet. But the second ability doesn't feel like it's going to have much of an impact, because usually when they're wiping one creature, they're wiping multiple creatures.
Yeah.
Because there's like spot removaling the AO is going to be an issue. Now, maybe that's why this card is good.
Vehicles, though, too, they've always been pretty good at just sitting around through a board wipe and then being able to win after that. So if you're pumping up your vehicles, it might be easier for you to swing in for those wins in those aggressive decks.
Yes and no, and that might actually change a little bit with Kamigawa itself, because there are a lot of vehicles here, and there's actually a vehicle sub theme. But like a large amount of the decks, and even the black red vehicles deck when it was really big back during Aether Revolt, only played like 6 or 5 vehicles. So I'm not 100% sure where that's going to go.
Well, that was because they'd already banned Smuggler's Copter. When red-white vehicles came out, they were even more week 1 because of 4 Smuggler's Copters and everything.
Yeah. I kind of like AO, but I'm just kind of.
Does it feel mythic? I guess is my question.
I mean, it's a legendary 5-drop dragon, so it does feel mythical.
Sure, but I mean, like the abilities on it. I don't know. It doesn't seem. It seems like it would flip another dragon in, but how many dragons are really CMC4 or
Yeah.
less?
I mean, like mythic is pretty subjective because it just depends on who's playing what. But I mean, yes, it does feel like a mythic. They had to shrink. They had to shrink the font to fit all the words on the card, so it's most likely a mythic.
Right. Yeah. I like the artwork though. It's cool dragon.
I do. Yeah, the artwork is sweet. Moving through to a couple other things that might seem kind of interesting. Brilliant Restoration, basically replenish only. Yeah, replenish only. I think properly costed. There's a cycle of these cards that cost whatever, like 3, 4, or 5, and then 4 of one color.
Okay.
There's a full cycle of them. This card is unique. It has potential. Anything that returns like this many cards has potential, but it is a 7-mana sorcery, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'm trying to Commander. I bet there's, especially because it's another one of those effects where you can have a replenish. You can have this, and then there was the 100... one in Modern Horizons that did the replenish effect as well.
100%. This we'll see playing Commander, but I don't know to what end.
Yeah.
Other things to mention since we're on this tagline: ninjutsu or returning mechanic, and channel, another returning mechanic. Let's talk about ninjutsu first. Ninjutsu is basically when a creature attacks and goes unblocked, you can pay the ninjutsu cost on the creature in your hand, and you can basically pick up the attacker and then put the ninjutsu creature into play, attacking, and it's in place of it.
It's pretty sweet, actual gameplay mechanic.
It's a very good gameplay mechanic from like. It covers all the formats as far as like it's good and constructed. It's good and limited.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's one of those fun mechanics because there's an element of surprise.
Yes, definitely. What the fun is ninjutsu?
As long as we don't put ninjutsu on the Ulamog, we should be all right.
Yeah. Another returning mechanic is channel. They've revamped a lot of these mechanics. Ninjutsu was fine before in the original Kamigawa, but channel in the original Kamigawa was mostly a dud because it was a large amount of carded disadvantage. But it seems like they've rebalanced a lot of these channel cards to where like they have a good front side, like they're worth playing, and then they give you the backside where channel is a decent value at that point too.
Yeah.
So the gist on channel, I don't know if I actually talked about it, is you pay the channel cost, discard this card, and you get an effect. Channel is like cycling, but instead of drawing a card, you get a different ability, and the cost is varied.
Yeah, so at that point, that ability just needs to be balanced well to be just pitching your cards.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're discarding a card and paying some amount of mana, like it just needs to reflect to what the channel cost is. But
we'll see some that may reflect way harder than they need to.
Another returning mechanic in this set is vehicles. There is, like we said earlier, there's a vehicle subset. So there are a lot of vehicles in this set, and for those of you that don't know, vehicles are basically like artifacts that come down and they have a crew cost, and the crew is usually crew X, where X is power of creatures you control, and you can tap those creatures to crew or get in the giant for example, get in the giant mech suit and attack with it.
This is very different.
Yeah, it is kind of different in the sense that,
like, we had dwarves and the people on Kaladesh that would crew the vehicle, and it made a lot of sense. You put a dude inside the vehicle, he can use it. Now we got guys jumping in mech suits, and
I mean,
it's cool.
It's cyberpunk. It's sweet.
Yeah. I'm not dissing. I like it, but it's a different type of vehicle without.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's not a chariot. No more cats. Giant robots. You're now jumping in Gundams.
Which is cooler.
This whole line right here is actually kind of sweet because it gets we get to showcase a few more things that the set is dropping. A new set mechanic is reconfigure. Reconfigure is basically equip, but an improved version of equip, if you will. So these reconfigure cards, such as Cloudsteel Kieran here, they come down as creatures, and they have a reconfigure cost. And the reconfigure is similar to equip in that you would reconfigure it to another creature, and this no longer is a creature, it becomes an equipment, and it says equipped, like with Cloud Kieran, it says equipped creature has flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. The interesting thing about reconfigure is you can de-equip them or take them off for the same reconfigure cost, and they turn right back into creatures. So while they are attached to another creature, they are not equipment, or they are not creatures. Sorry, they are equipment. So it's basically like they took equipment and improved it, I think. I mean, I'd have to get some time behind the wheel, but this feels like more versatile equipment that you can definitely like get more mileage out of and not feel bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they could. I'm trying to think of how it'll play out, because you can't do it at instant speed, so you can't try to save it.
No, you can't do it at instant speed, but if your opponent kills your creature in response to the reconfigure cost, you still have a creature in play.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty nice. You don't just waste your mana on equipment and then it just sits there.
Yeah, you still do have your creature.
It literally transforms, but they'd already used that mechanic in the past, so they can't call this a transform.
That mechanic is also in this set.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes. This set also has a sub-theme of enchantment creatures. So, like, as you can see here with the Iganjo Exemplar, it's a 1/1 enchantment creature, human samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's a 2/1. Nothing particularly special about this card, except that, you know, the return of enchantment creatures. And there's quite a few of them. Most of them are from the sagas, which we'll talk about later.
So is Journey to, do we have enchantment creatures in Theros too? Or is Journey to Nyx the last one?
Theros is where we had the enchantment creatures. Yes. Journey, that block, yep.
Cool.
So just talking about ongoing themes. There's also a shrine theme. Now, I don't know if you remember the shrines from Kamigawa, and then I believe they were revisited in Magic Origins, but now we have shrines that are legendary enchantment creature shrines. So we have even more shrines. Eventually, we're going to have enough shrines that there will be some sort of commander shrines, or maybe it just doesn't. Yeah, historic shrines. It just doesn't feel like there's ever going to be a standard playable shrine deck, because there just aren't enough of them. But like, the farther back you go, the more cards you get. So. And basically, all these shrines do the same thing. They all check for F shrines and then give you a special ability. Go Shintai of Shared Purpose, which is a white and 3, is the legendary enchantment creature shrine. It's 1/3 vigilance at the beginning of your end step. You can pay 1 if you do create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. All right, so we've gone over shrines, we've gone over vehicles, we've gone over reconfigure.
So I don't think we've had all the shrines in the past, though. None of them were creatures. They were just enchantments.
That's the new take on shrines, is that they are now creatures.
That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little new take on it. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Nothing too particular in this line except like the card Farewell. It's a 6-mana Wrath, but it does say choose 1 or more, and it's so Farewell is 4 colors, 2 white, and it says choose 1 or more, exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, or exile all graveyards. So it's certainly just board clearing, graveyard clearing effect.
Yeah.
At 6 mana, I don't know how powerful this is. Definitely good in Commander, as far as just, you know, resetting the board if you need to.
Or losing friends, possibly.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know how this plays out in Constructed beyond being a Commander stable, though. 6 mana is quite a bit to be paid, but it does, you know, fully reset the board.
I guess if enchantments became a popular deck and there wasn't any other remove exile enchantments cards, this one could see sideboard play. But
I mean, this is certainly the great equalizer, right? Like, if you're behind this, just like resets everything. So scrolling through, nothing too stand outish, except maybe Invoke Justice. So earlier, I think I misspoke when I said there was a cycle of 4-pip cards. There is a cycle of 4-pip cards, but the one that returns all in your enchantments from the graveyard was not one of them. All of them are, I believe, something Justice themed or Invoke themed. So Invoke Justice is 1 white, 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 white. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then distribute 4+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls. I don't know if this card's going to see play or not, strictly because of the 4 white cost.
Yeah.
So you're strictly a monocolor deck. This effect has existed before. There was a 5-drop from the last time we went to Ravnica that was 3 black white that did the exact same thing, short of the counters thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This is like a post board wipe play, but I'm not super excited about it.
You need like a really, really sweet reanimate target to wanna.
I mean, oh yeah, there are plenty of sweet reanimator targets. It's just whether or not it's playable because
I mean, like in standard though.
or white in standard.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reanimate targets, but there aren't ones that are mono white that matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an interesting card.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see the rest of them. I wonder if they're all going to try to Invoke Prejudice. Was kind of a big deal when WotC said that they would never. They took it out of everything pretty much.
Well, they should have.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even their online stuff, and like they just removed it as it was errated from the game. So I wonder if this is kind of a we're sorry making up for it because it's the exact opposite. It's the justice. We removed the prejudice.
There are no amount of apologies that can make up for Invoke Prejudice.
There are no amount of apologies you can make it for the 90s.
That's true. But I mean, Dawson's Creek. So.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Need I say?
There's another 5-color commander in Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa.
Yeah.
It's a legendary dragon. Big props to them returning to dragons. Just I understand it's a Japanese sub theme, but I just like dragons being back in Magic. And they've been pumping out quite a few dragons in the last 1.5 to 2 years, but there was a long span where it's just like there weren't any, and it was kind of sad.
Yeah, there's the 1 angel, 1 dragon, 1 vampire per set kind of thing, you know.
Well, this set's got plenty of dragons, 0 angels. I don't know about vampires. So here we go. First name butchered. Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. It's a legendary creature dragon spirit, flash flying. When Kyodai Soul of Kamigawa ETBs, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. And then it's Wooburg. Kyodai gets +5/+5 until end of turn. It's a dragon. It's 5-color. It's certainly flavorful in that it's the soul of a plane, which is kind of neat. Not so much as far as it being super powerful. Yeah, or good. It's just it's very flavorful.
Yeah, I mean, like there's literally another white dragon, but
yeah,
4 that flashes into. I think it's just like no. I mean, from Dungeons and Dragons set, there was like the 4-mana white dragon with flash that has seen like 0 play, and I think it's more powerful than this guy. So
yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's cool card.
Next up, I would like to talk about what I think is one of the most powerful cards in the set in Lion Sash. Lion Sash is 1 white for a 1/1 artifact creature equipment cat. It says
wait, 5 times fast.
Nope. Robot cat, got it. 1 white. It's got 1 white : exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash, and it's got reconfigure too. This is like a white scavenging ooze.
Yeah.
And it's also got this card's really strong, like really strong.
Yeah, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter. Wow.
Yes, this itself gets the buffs too. So like, I am impressed with this card. It's an amazing 2-drop. It's well rounded. It's not overpowered, but it's not underpowered. It's just powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It being able to move around. So like these white aggressive decks, just having this threat that grows and also can grow your other small ball creatures like Suntail Hawks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really impressed with Lion Sash. I think this card is going to be. There will be a white aggressive deck that this slots into that will probably become one of the better decks on the format, strictly because of how good Lion Sash is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we have any like the Vampire Vanguard, white creatures. Like it was a 3/1 pay 4 life. It got indestructible. So like you put something like this on that dude, it's so hard to remove something like that. I don't know if there are any of those currently though in white, like I can think of. I don't know. I have to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reconfigure cards, when they're on a creature, if the creature is destroyed, they turn back into creatures. So similar to the bestow mechanic.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last line right there, while attached, this isn't a creature. So that means when it becomes unattached, it would unattach.
It becomes a creature again. Yeah. So like that means if your opponent blows up your board as far as like destroys all creatures and whatnot, this thing still sits in play, and then you could start eating the creatures that died to pump it and attack.
Yeah, each one white mana gives it +2/+2 as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it only gives it +1/+1.
Oh, because it's not equipped to itself. Yep. Okay, gotcha.
Right. Because it's pretty. It's really hard to like find a downside to this card. Right, it's certainly going to be a multi-format staple. It's going to be played in Legacy, in Modern, in Pioneer, in Standard.
It's a cat, so it already slots right into the cat commander deck. Because
that was certainly low on the list of things that I was thinking of, but it's definitely a cat. So yes, there's that.
Well, the best cat commander deck is the equipment deck too. So it just
you are speaking French as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea what the best commander deck is. I think Lion Sash is going to end up being one of the marquee cards from this set.
Yeah, you better get used to saying artifact creature equipment cat.
Or Lion Sash.
Fine. Yeah, no. What was that? A Jigglypuff? What is that? March?
March of Otherworldly Light. This is prismatic ending at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But mom, we have prismatic ending. No. We have prismatic ending at home. Is this? A lot of people have talked about this card being. It's polarizing. So a lot of people think this card's really, really strong. A lot of people are kind of off it. So for those of you at home, so I'll read the card before we go into more detail on it. It's March of Otherworldly Light. It's X white. Instant. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less for each card exiled this way. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. So it costs. It's not like prismatic ending where you can pay 1 and exile a 1. So everything you exile has a tax of 1 additional to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea that discarding the cards. It's not even discard. You're exiling the cards, reducing the cost on this because then you're 2-for-1ing yourself a lot.
Well,
and I think
Force of Will though, or Force of Negation and Vigor.
Yeah, but those are entirely different. And that 1, you don't have to pay mana to cast them.
Yeah.
And 2, they're counter spells. This exiling something that is already resolved.
Well, Force of Vigor blows up what, 2 artifacts or enchantments? or
Force
something?
of Vigor is a 2 for 2, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yes, Force of Will and Force of Negation are 2 for 1s in your opponent's favor. But like those things answer the things that are early drops that need to be countered. I don't think I like this card. I think it's just, it costs a little bit too much. It might see some play, but I feel like the additional mana cost on it is.
It never has to be a 2 for 1 though, too. That's
no, it
only
doesn't
like
have to be a 2
turn
for
1 or turn 2.
But then you're always losing on the mana investment. So whatever you're exiling, you had to pay 1 more for than your opponent had to pay to play.
Yeah. I don't know. It's Niles Hanart, which he's the artist who did Delver Secrets. He's from Germany. He doesn't do a lot of artwork for Magic, and he always does super cool stuff. It looks like
don't get me wrong,
Dali.
the artwork is super sweet.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much play this card's gonna see, to be honest with you.
I do know I will pick a copy up just for that artwork, but yeah, it might not get too much play. It's different.
This set is full of gorgeous artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Working our way down the spoiler list, something I definitely want to talk about is Spirited Companion. It's a common doggo, the best doggo, if you will. It's a 1/1 for 1 white and 1. Enchantment creature dog. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. This card seems super innocuous at first. Yeah, it's just an Elvish Visionary, so what? But it's also an enchantment. And out of the enchantment based, like the green-white enchantress decks and stuff like that, that you would see in Historic and possibly Pioneer and stuff like that, this card is really strong because it gives you that enchantment proc, plus it lets you draw a card. So a large amount of the enchantment cards that you play in those decks either reduce your enchantments by 1, or say when you cast an enchantment, draw a card. So this is essentially pay to draw 2 cards and then have a body afterwards.
Yeah, it can get out of hand.
And it's not so much that this can get out of hand, it's just that this card, it being an enchantment creature and also drawing you a card, is like, it's better than Elvish Visionary in the Enchantress style decks.
Yes.
In the sense that, like, it's better than Elvish Visionary was in the Elf decks. Or it plays a similar role, you know what I mean?
Yeah. She's a good girl.
Yeah, the best. Scrolling through, one last thing to touch on in the white cards would be the Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, this is cool.
This is certainly a good card out of this set. It's 2 white for a legendary planeswalker with flash. As long as the Wandering Emperor entered the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you could cast an instant.
What? That's just...
Yeah. So the turn you play it, you get to use it essentially. But 3 loyalty says +1 +1/+1 counter on 2/1 target creature against first strike until end of turn. -1 create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. -2 exile tapped creature. Exile target tapped creature, you get 2 life.
This is nuts.
So it's only nuts if you're casting it at flash. If you're not casting it at flash, it feels kind of like an underwhelming planeswalker, but like that flash ability and being able to use it right away might give you enough to warrant playing this card in like constructed more, just because it gives you that combat trick. This is definitely like a standard style constructed card. I don't think it'll see any play beyond the standard / alchemy.
Yeah.
But it being that combat trick where you can just like exile a thing and then immediately like,
well, it creates a token too. So this is a great blue-white control style planeswalker, especially because the flash.
End step, make a planeswalker, make a 2/2 on tap, and then
you can plus it.
Plus, and then that thing protects this planeswalker.
Yep.
It doesn't really have an ultimate though, so it's certainly going to give you some value, but I don't know how much. You know what I mean?
Reminds me of History of Benalia when
Benalia?
Yeah, Benalia, sorry. When we were playing that in the blue-white control decks, just because it gave you those 2 night tokens and you could finish the game out literally with those night tokens if you needed to.
I mean, it's possible, but time will tell with this card. It's either going to be really good in that it just gets people quite a few times, or it's going to feel super middling. You know what I mean?
Is it? Are they going to tell us who the Wanderer is though from the War of the Spark? Because this seems
this
like
is the Wanderer.
But who is the Wandering Emperor? There's still no name. It was the Wanderer, now the Wandering Emperor.
It's the Emperor of Kamigawa.
Oh, what's her name though?
I don't know. They cover it in the flavor articles.
Oh, okay.
I lightly peruse them, but yeah, this is the Wanderer. Much to most people's chagrins, because I remember there being just a big thread about how the Wanderer is actually just Emrakul in human form.
Except it's Raiden. Clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, good card though. That'll be sweet.
So moving on to white into blue. Right off the bat, nothing super impressive in the early blue stuff. Essence Capture coming back, which has been pretty good when it's been in play. It's blue, counter a creature spell, put a counter on one of your guys. It's basically it's seen play in the mono blue decks before. I don't know if there are enough cards to make the mono blue decks good still.
Yeah.
But it's a fine card, is what I'll say.
Yeah. When it was paired with Trickster, it was really good.
Yeah, when it was paired with Trickster and Phantom Pirate, Flash Pirate draws a card. I can't remember what it's called exactly. There's somebody just like screaming, "It's called this, you idiot!" But I cannot remember what it's called. Spectral Pirate or Spectral Sailor. Haha, I figured it out.
Yep, the 1-mana one.
Moving into like our first impressive blue card. This is the big fatty and the big spoiler from the set, I guess, is that Jin Gitaxias Progress Tyrant. For those of you that are flavor folks, Jin Gitaxias is a Praetor from Phyrexia who has made his way to Kamigawa. So Jin Gitaxias Progress Tyrant. 5 blue for a 5/5. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. I'm kind of meh on this for constructed. It seems like a big baddie, but then you realize that the only spells it counters from your opponent, it doesn't counter creature spells.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So it protects itself from instants and sorceries, but it doesn't protect itself from like another planeswalker or something like that. And it being 7 mana, and there also being like Hullbreaker Horror, makes it kind of awkward because Horror is definitely just the better card to be playing in this slot. So I'm not too sure how I feel about Jin Gitaxias.
It looks like one of those cards that's just going to sit and maybe get a day in the sun right before it rotates. If Hullbreaker rotates,
it might get its day in the sun, but we'd have to, it's gonna take a while. So
yeah.
The blue dragon, oh, here we go, another one. Kyrie, the Swirling Sky. It's a 6/6 flyer for 6, so immediately super powered dragon, as it were. Flying ward 3. When it dies, choose one. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands, or mill 6, then return up to 2 instant and/or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. It protects itself, I guess, as you cast it, but if Imrith isn't seeing play, which is a 5/5 dragon for 5 that has ward, infinite, and draws you cards, then I don't think Kyrie will either.
No, and it's one of those weird ward things. Like if you cast it on curve and they untap with 6 mana, paying extra 3 and using a 3-mana kill spell isn't that hard.
Yeah, I'm still not impressed by a large amount of these dragons, but I think there's 1 or 2 that are pretty good later on.
Yeah, well, I think the Dungeons Dragons were like super good, so it's going to be really hard to beat those.
I actually want to talk about a common real quick.
Yeah.
In Mirror Shell Crab. 7-drop, 5/7, 5 blue, ward 3. Channel, discard Mirror Shell Crab, counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. Now it is a 3-mana counter spell, but it does counter an ability. And this card is one of two. There's another card later on that slots directly into like the blue-black living end deck out of Modern. That this card kind of scares me.
Isn't that literally just the crab from Moana?
No.
No.
This crab does not look as cool, and he definitely doesn't have a catchy theme song.
Probably not.
Yeah.
What? So what scares you about the channel port?
Oh, well, the channel part, because it does hit abilities too.
Oh yeah, okay.
This is an uncounterable counter. Granted, it's like a soft counter because it can pay, but 3 mana is still no joke, and just getting caught off guard by like just getting caught off guard by the counter target triggered ability, target spell or ability. The ability part is kind of surprising for a common. Like, this is pretty impressive for a common. There's a lot of text on this common.
This is gonna be great in draft limited for sure.
Draft unlimited. This will see constructed play, but not in a lot of things. Mostly just a living end style decks, to be honest with you. Like, I think this card is perfectly slotted for that living end deck, just giving that deck more interaction, but also giving it another guy to reanimate later.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mnemonic Sphere, just a strict upgrade from Creationer's Capsule, I believe. Older card from Shards of Lara, but Mnemonic Sphere, common. Blue 1 artifact. It says blue 1, sack it, draw 2 cards, or channel, pay a blue, discard this, and draw a card. This is definitely like good filler for decks that are trying to hit some sort of critical mass of artifacts.
Yeah.
Some sort of affinity strategy or whatnot, and then just drawing extra cards later, and also being able to just like get rid of it at 1 blue and draw another card.
No, I like that card for sure. I think I could see some.
I do too.
The Moon Folk are back, huh?
Yeah, the Moon Folk are back. I've heard good things about Moon Snare Prototype. Artifact, 1 blue, tap this and tap an untapped artifact or creature you control to add a colorless. It's kind of like Springleaf Drum for copies 5 through 8. But being able to just tap any other artifact to do this seems like it's going to be strong enough. And that's not to mention the channel ability on it too, which is 4 blue. Discard this. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. So this is Springleaf Drum, but with upside, because you can use it to like later on in the game when you don't actually need another Springleaf Drum or something like that. Just use it as a tempo play by putting something on top of your opponent's library, which is nothing to scoff at, because essentially you're taking a turn away from your opponent by just removing their draw step.
Yeah. If you're doing it at the right time, you're probably closing the game or trying to.
One of the big blue cards out of the set that I do want to talk about is Reality Chip.
Okay.
So this one's got a lot of words, so I hope you're ready. It's an 0/4 for a blue and 1. Legendary artifact creature equipment jellyfish. Take that, artifact cat.
Right.
You may look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as this is attached to a creature, you might play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Reconfigure cost 2 and a blue. So early on, 0/4 can just block and blunt aggressive strategies, and then later on, it's just a card draw engine. I believe this is one of the better cards in the set as well, just because it gives you. It's a more aggressively costed future sight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm impressed.
It's legendary.
It's legendary, yeah. But I'm impressed to see what this card can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely different enough that it makes me want to try it. And
I mean, out of blue decks, especially like combo-based blue decks or spell-based blue decks, like this is really strong. But you do have to have something to put it on, but I don't think that's going to be much of an issue.
That's what I was trying to think. But yeah, no, so at first I thought it reminded me like a thing in the ice thing, like it's a 0/4 for 2, it does something. Obviously it doesn't do anything nearly to the level of thing in the ice. And then it requires more creatures, where most blue creatures like to be loners, but
That's true. I mean, you could put this on thing in the ice.
yes, you could.
And it's a thing in the ice that is also a jellyfish with a circuit.
Legendary artifact creature, equipment, jellyfish thing in the ice.
Yeah. It's amazing that they fit all of the words for a chroma directly in the type line.
Yeah, that's gotta be like font 8.
And actually directly next to this is Reality Heist. I've heard buzzing about this card. I don't know how I feel about it or not. It's a blue 5 for an instant. This spell costs 1 less for each artifact you control. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal 2 artifact cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest of them out of your library in a random order. This is not. What is that dragon card called? I cannot remember it off the top of my head, which is embarrassing.
Dragon. Like
it's in the same set as Treasure
Cruise?
No, it's in the same set as Treasure Cruise.
Oh, Dig Through Time?
Dig Through Time. Why? There's a dragon on it.
Yeah.
This is not Dig Through Time. A lot of people are reading it as Artifact to Dig Through Time with Affinity. But this only getting artifacts is a big hindrance to it. Now, that's not to say that this doesn't have a spot, but there's definitely going to have to be an artifact heavy deck that's going to want to use this.
Yeah. Instant speed makes it scary.
Instant speed is good, and like it can draw you cards, but like the density of artifacts you have to have in your deck for this to hit and hit like 2 relevant things means you're basically a mono artifact deck, right?
Yeah.
So
so we saw the 1 artifact earlier, the blue artifact that you could cycle for 1, and then we saw the reality chip there. Those are the equipment are all artifacts. Maybe there's a strong enough artifact theme, but
I'm thinking if this card sees play, it'll be in some sort of affinity style deck in Modern that uses like the other affinity cards that are drawing you cards, Thoughtcast, stuff like that, like Thought Monitor.
Is there a Tezzeret in the set?
There is a Tezzeret later on in the set, but it's not what you think it is.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see. That one could be something to look out for, I guess. But it's Spell Pierce is back.
Spell Pierce is back.
Phyrexian Spell Pierce.
All right. In the sense that it's Phyrexian themed, not like Phyrexian mannered.
Yeah, just the dude. Sorry.
Yeah, Spell Pierce is back. This will definitely be like a good role player as far as filling the curve where you need it, being able to weave it in and disrupt your controlling opponents to like get you the window, get you the time you need to either stabilize or win the game. Spell Pierce has always been a solid card.
Yeah, definitely.
Next up, I want to talk about Tameshi Reality Architect. Blue and 2 for legendary creature Moonfolk Wizard. When 1 or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. White X, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from a graveyard to the battlefield to activate only as a sorcery. Whew, that is a lot of text. You can use this thing. It doesn't tap, so you can use this thing the turn it comes into play if you have enough mana to use it.
Yeah.
But this card itself is a recursive engine. So there's definitely something here. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it is. But cards like this usually end up seeing some amount of play just because you can continually just return things and it's an engine in a can. It's already built.
So you're about with like Lotus Petal and the one other merfolk that lets you return artifacts from your graveyard, like you can essentially return a 0-drop. It doesn't have to be Lotus Petal, but
Right.
use tap the land, bounce the land, return the 0-drop, draw a card. But the once per turn is where this thing just dies for me.
Mox Amber.
Yeah, but still once per turn, so I can only do that once a turn. I can't go do anything really crazy with it.
It's like draw a card and generate a mana. You're thinking big combo turns. And look at this thing like it's a value engine, right? It is a legend, so Mox Amber turn works with it.
True.
So
yeah, it could be something.
There's a lot here to go through as far as that. So maybe there isn't anything here. It's just a lot of words on a card. But I feel like it's definitely got a place somewhere.
Yeah.
Something like this just doesn't go unchecked.
So I know the once per turn line it stops infinite combos from just happening accidentally or happening if they can clearly see that it would happen. But it also stops a lot of cards that would be much better if you could just do it 2 or 3 times. It doesn't have to go infinite, but it just makes it, I don't know. It's a weird balance.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what the mad scientists come up with as far as Tameshi goes.
Yeah. Could be something cool.
Finally, we get to the Tezzeret of the set. Are you excited? I know you're excited. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. 2 blue, legendary planeswalker Tezzeret. The first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate.
Okay.
+1, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. -2, target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 4/4. -6, you get an emblem. Whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card.
That's stupid. It's not going to get played.
I don't know, man. It says draw a card a lot on it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this could have been the Tezzeret we wanted 3-4 years ago because Tezzeret's been kind of weak for the most part in all of its recent printings. But then they've all upped the how to kill planeswalkers with a single mana cards like that make these much less attractive. True. Like you're not playing it over Jace, and it's 4 mana blue planeswalker in older formats.
Yeah. So a 5 mana Tezzeret is better than 4 mana Tezzeret. Like if we're talking about the eternal formats that matter. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this card. The emblem is certainly good, but I mean that's the same on everything.
Yeah. And when it gets a chance to be really good, it does the same thing. It says the first activated ability of an artifact. So you can only do this once. Can't even try to abuse it by jam-packing artifacts.
It gives you mana. It doesn't give you infinite mana. It just tiptoes up to the line.
But I think that's where it's going to die, though. I think he dies on the line.
You could be right. So I would like to get this card
down, though. This whole set seems a little bit weaker than the last couple we've seen.
I mean, when Throne of Eldraine first came out, people thought it was kind of weak, and then surprise, it was actually just absurd. So I don't know.
Yeah, it just punched us right in the face.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Yeah,
it's just an adventure.
Mike Tyson's quote: "Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth."
Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Moving on to the next one, we have Thirst for Knowledge. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. It has been many years since this card has been in standard, and I'm glad to see it back. At one point, this card, I believe, was restricted in Vintage.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. Thirst is really good. I don't know how good it is compared to this set, because this set is more like a Kaladesh set, where there are a lot of artifacts and stuff in this set. So I'm thinking Thirst is going to see a decent amount of play. It does have to compete with Expressive Iteration, which is not a battle it's going to win. But don't be fooled. Thirst is a super good card.
Yeah.
I still I think even by today's standards, Thirst is good. I could be wrong, and this could just completely fall flat.
Well, the
But
enchantment one that they made for Theros, it was Thirst, but for enchantments and artifacts. That one was pretty sweet.
it was sweet, but no one played it because
Yeah.
there wasn't enough to play with. Yeah, so I don't know. But Thirst kind of rounds out the blue section for now. There really aren't a lot of other things I was super impressed with out of the blue set, but maybe blue part of the set, but maybe I'm wrong and I just missed something. Decent uncommon and assassins link out of black, 2 black. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact and 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Destroy target creature or planeswalker.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's why 4 mana Tezzeret just doesn't even matter.
I mean, yeah. This card is either good. So if you control one half of them, it's a Hero's Downfall, right? If you control 2, it's upside. And I believe Hero's Downfall is legal in standard. It's not even being played now, right?
Yeah, probably.
It's got
weird with taking extra turns right now.
Oh, not anymore. Standard no longer has Albert's Epiphany. Got banned.
Yeah, no, they just switched to the red one.
I haven't seen it. To be honest, I haven't been playing a large amount of standard because Auburn's Epiphany sucked the life out of it. But
you're not missing much, man.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this brings it back because I would like to play some, but I've just been playing historic lately.
It would be nice. Scrolling through the black cards, not seeing a lot I'm impressed with at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't see too much.
Yeah. Here's Hit It Sogu with just a regular black border, so this card will be 5 cents. But if you find the pink bordered one, congratulations, you own a house now. Invoke Despair. It's the 4 black out of the black cycle. Target opponent sacrifice a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. This card does have some potential, and that it's definitely like at worst, it replaces itself, but if you can hit multiple modes on it, you can gain some advantage out of it.
Yeah, so we skipped the blue invoke, but the blue invoke was just a control magic for 1 more.
Yeah, it was just kind of like.
So Gravelighter is a black card that I did notice, and I'm not sure if we passed that one.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, I like that as an uncommon. It's it either gets you a card or it makes them sacrifice a creature, and it's a 2/2 flyer for 3. It's going to be strong in any limited format, and sometimes these guys squeak into standard depending on like.
Wait, this might be good out of the mono black sacrifice deck because you gain value on it no matter what.
Yeah. Yep.
This is always going to be a creature plus more. So, yeah, this card seems pretty decent actually. Gravelighter's not a bad uncommon.
I know there are a lot of spirits too in the last set, so I don't know if there was seen some in here. Maybe there could be. Who knows?
I'm kind of excited to see where that goes. Then we have the black mythic dragon.
Yep.
Juneji, the Midnight Sky. 3 black for 5/5 flying menace. When it dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Or put a non-dragon creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control and you lose 2 life. This card seems good.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say this is probably my favorite dragon so far.
This one seems better than all the other ones because it's good on the front side, and then if you kill it, you're still getting more value out of it. And it's in the right color for this. I don't think the white dragon is going to be good because of like the wrath style effects, but the mono black deck that allows you to put like creatures back into play because you're sacrificing a lot of stuff, like Juneji is going to be good there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this card's really good.
Menace and flying is kind of just
unblockable. It might as well just say unblockable on it, but yeah.
And I'm digging this dragon style with the pink flower ghost stuff around the artwork.
The artwork on all the dragons is insane. Like, you don't need to see the text to appreciate it. The artwork on these dragons is amazing.
So I don't believe a lot of these. So I've been looking at some, like this is an arcade postcard right here. This Cami of Restless Shadows. I haven't seen arcade posts do artwork for Magic for a while. Are they like trying to bring back some of the old school artists or?
Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I know there's certainly a void to be filled in the art department as of late due to recent things, but that's a whole nother conversation. But
Oh yeah, I didn't even hear anything about that, so I have no idea.
yeah. Nope. It's nice to get some of the old artists. I wish they could just have Tadine in every single set for forever. But
Yeah,
I'm a super paper boomer, so I just want to see Tadine art on everything.
yeah, it'd be pretty sweet. I like Pool too.
Yeah, Pool.
All right, anything else in black or is that?
We're just kind of working through it.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a lot of like real big hits.
Oh, there we got one of those the mini board wipes, the 2 black and a colorless. All creatures get -2/-2, and then they exile. Oh, that's a reprint.
No, this
They
is not
changed
a
the
reprint.
name.
Yeah, they changed the name, but this card continually keeps getting printed.
Yeah. It's decent though, and it gets standard play in boards and stuff against smaller go wide strategies or like quick aggressive decks. So
yeah, we have another March card in March of the Wretched Sorrow. Black X additional cost to pay the spell. You may exile any number of black cards. Cost 2 less for each black card exiled this way. Does X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life.
this was better than the white one.
It's better than the white one, but a lot of these marches I'm just not impressed with.
Yeah,
I mean,
the life gain, just depending on how aggressive the format is, life gain on some any
I
card.
mean, it could be good potentially.
Yeah, it could suck too. We don't yeah, it's what it is for now. Let's see. What is this though?
Which one?
That mouse with the tech.
This is a Gadget from the Rescue Rangers. She is found on Kamigawa. No, it's Nashi Moon Sage's Scion. 1 black for a 3/2 legendary creature rat ninja. Ninjutsu, 3 and a black. Whenever Nashi the Moon Sage's Scion, wow, that is a mouthful, deals combat damage to a player, exile a top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than its mana cost. So, this card is good in the sense that like you can definitely take advantage of it by just being able to cast the spells out of your deck, so your deck can do it what it is designed to do. And it also has the added bonus of you can play your opponent's cards, which is a more recent thing that Wizards has been doing.
Yeah.
That I don't know if I'm a fan of or not, because it's definitely a feel bad to lose to your own cards.
Yeah.
And like, how do you play around cards that your opponent normally wouldn't have in their deck because they're in your deck?
So Gonti was what I remember being the first card that really like got popular doing this, and they looked at the top 4 cards of the library and just took one.
Yeah, and Gonti was a house.
Yeah, the card was great.
Nashi being able to play spells for life instead of actual mana cost means that like on turn 4 you can get a lot of potential out of this, and there's probably some amount of setup where you could like set up the top of your deck and then Ninjutsu and Nashi into play and then cast whatever's on the top of your deck.
Yeah, I think this card is going to be really good.
It's very Ink Eyes adjacent to me.
What is it?
I mean, like, do you remember Ink Eyes from
I
believe it's Kamigawa Betrayers? This feels like that in the sense that like if you hit your opponent with this card, it's gonna do some pretty disgusting things. Granted, it could also just go land. So I guess you got, but
yeah.
I'm happy with where this card is right now, and I think it's got a lot of potential. This might be probably the best black card we've seen so far out of the set. Maybe the dragon, but Nashi's got a lot more hit to it.
So the best vehicle I've seen is also in black, and it is right next to this card.
I feel like you're just picking the hardest names for me to pronounce.
You want me to give it a shot?
Oh, yes, I do.
Makotai Soul Ripper.
Damn it.
But
You want to read it?
sure, yeah. Whenever Makotai Soul Ripper attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Makotai Soul Ripper. It gains menace until the end of turn. This is an artifact vehicle with a crew 2, 4/3 for black and a colorless. So depending on the setup of your deck or an aggressive black deck, which usually wants to sacrifice things for some sort of benefit, this is a 5/4 on turn, attacking on turn 3, 5/4 played on turn 2 that can't be killed by a creature removal spell.
Think Eye Twitch and Shambling Ghast. Like, I think this card is sick just because Eye Twitch and Shambling Ghast. You can just eat those because you want to sacrifice them anyways. Gain the value from them being sacrificed via learn or other tokens, a treasure token, and whatnot. And it just pumps this to a 5/4 menace. And it
The
just
only
gets
problem, you got to crew it though to get the attack.
You can crew it with Shambling Ghast and Eye Twitch.
Yeah, I guess if you're playing just
you can crew it with whatever you're going to sacrifice.
Yeah, it's crew 2 though. Those are both 1 power guys. I was trying to think of something that'd be like a 2/1 maybe. Like if we had what was the blood horde chief or whatever from cons, that was the 1 mana black 2/1 that you could get back from the graveyard.
Oh yeah,
Bloodstone Champion.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, like that would be a perfect card to go with this. But I still think this could have some really good potential because swinging in.
I mean, it's a 4/3 for 2. This is, it's got Heart of Kieran vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep. The menace too, really, like it doesn't have flying, but that menace, like how many people played 2 creatures by turn 3 or turn 4? Like
yeah. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I think it's got a lot of potential to it. So maybe we found some black gems after all.
Yeah, yep. But I think, what was this? Soul transfer. Nope. Lame.
Yeah. Just kind of scrolling through. You want to talk about the Toad Rider? I'm going to talk about the Toad Rider.
I think we have to just because it's a Toad Rider.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to get the name right. Tassanari, Toad Rider, legendary creature, human ninja. It's a 3/3 for 2 and a black. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named, I knew it. I knew I was going to run the one. Kaime. Create Kaime, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog creature token with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Pay 1 and then blue-green hybrid. Tatsunari Toad Rider, and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying or reach.
No, there's far too much going on in this card, and it's not even a toad archetype or a frog archetype. He's a human.
This card is actually kind of sick, right? So it's a 3/3 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
But the second you play an enchantment, you get another 3/3, and then they just start wailing on your opponent, right?
Oh, and it doesn't say once per turn.
Yes.
Oh, but if no, so once it makes the first token, it won't make another one because it says if you don't control a creature. Okay.
Right. But it also says whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So it makes the frog the first time, and then continually everyone you cast after that just generates damage.
Yeah.
And then it and the frog can just start beating down.
And there's some 1 mana enchantments too. So it could be the 4 mana 6/6 that's split across 2 bodies.
Yeah.
With the drain. Yeah, that could be pretty good.
It's got potential. I don't know. The enchantment clause seems sweet until you start thinking like, all right, what enchantments can I play in black, blue, or black green? And
black blue. It's the disturb. The only reason I'm thinking any of these enchantments cards are halfway good are because all the disturb cards from the last set.
The disturb cards, and we'll get into sagas later on too.
Oh, yep.
So this has some potential. I wouldn't mind seeing where it goes. I don't know if there's a decent amount of cheap enchantment spells that, like, something that would augment your creature in some way.
Yeah.
Or modify, if you will. We haven't actually covered that yet. One thing I do want to touch on real quick in limited, and I know half of you just kind of tuned out, but you are already dead. Don't be fooled by this card. This card is fine, but it's not great because there's going to be a large amount of times where it's just stuck on your hand because you can't deal damage to a creature.
Yeah.
The art on it is pretty sweet because that ogre is just like sliding apart.
True.
But don't be fooled. This card isn't as good as you think it is.
Well, we're about an hour and a half, or maybe a little less, but close to an hour and a half into the cast through 3 colors. Steve, you think we should run through these other 2, or should we split this up? And how many do you think the people are still with us?
Let's go ahead and split it up.
That sounds good.
We will hit up the rest of this set later on this week. Get that up on YouTube ASAP, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So everybody, thank you for sticking with us and rolling through these first 3 colors. We will come back and do the last 2 plus colorless and gold. I guess, do we call it gold or is this multicolor now?
Multicolor, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Multicolor, and then we'll talk about the sagas and stuff like that. So this will be part 1 of 2-part set review.
Yeah. I am surprised though, getting through half the set, maybe even a little over half. I've 3 or 4 cards that seem like they could be interesting and constructed. I was hoping for a little more than that, but
I feel like there's definitely more. There's probably some that we missed.
Yeah,
because I feel like this set is much deeper than it looks on the surface.
I agree, and it's really hard to see the interactions that you kind of get from just playing with the cards. How they interact with one another usually lets you find a couple more cards that are pretty good.
Yeah.
All
right, folks. We will talk to you later. Thanks for listening, and we will get the other half of our set review up later this week.
Yeah, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I have pre-ordered some of the set, so I will do some box openings too for anybody who just likes to look at cards, and we will probably just chit chat about, whatever's on our mind that day. So
sweet.
Anything else, Steve?
Nothing right now. Hope to see you guys at the pre-release this weekend, and have fun.
Sounds good. See you guys later.